the war ended even before he took office. I assume that's not going to happen. We're just 8 days away from him being sworn in. What is the realistic time frame for at least a ceasefire in Ukraine? What do you think? What's the goal?
Well, we would like to see a ceasefire in any minute, any day. I think that would be a incredibly positive first step on both sides. And that would then allow us to enter into the framework of some type of negotiated solution here. Everybody knows that this has to end somehow diplomatically. I just don't think it's realistic to say we're going to expel every Russian from every inch of Ukrainian soil, even Crimea. President Trump has acknowledged that reality, and I think it's been a huge step forward that the entire world.
Donald Trump's advisors are now publicly admitting there will not be a peace deal in Ukraine anytime soon. Another broken promise by Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that he would ensure a peace deal in Ukraine within 24 hours after the election. That did not happen. If you want to try to say that Donald Trump meant 24 hours after the inauguration, that is not going to happen. If you've been watching our coverage here on the Midas Touch Network, we've been following this. We've talked about how Vladimir Putin said that the only deal he would agree to in Ukraine would be a total surrender and capitulation by Ukraine, and Putin would want Donald Trump to come begging for a deal as well, and it would have to be total capitulation and surrender. We reported last week how a meeting between Donald Trump's special envoy to Ukraine and Ukraine's foreign minister was abruptly canceled, and I was explaining the reason was because there were not the conditions for a deal, and it would have been embarrassing and humiliating. So now over the weekend, we've heard from both Donald Trump's special envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, who, by the way, is a serious guy, as well as Donald Trump's soon-to-be National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, and both of them say no deal anytime soon. So first, I want you to hear this in their own words so you can hear it for yourself, that Donald Trump broke the promise. Remember what Trump said? Trump said when he was asked, well, how are you going to do this peace deal in 24 hours? Trump said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Putin. I'm going to say, you got to do this. And I'm going to go to Zelensky and say, you got to do this. And then I know how to do deals. So a deal's going to happen. That's not going to happen. So Keith Kellogg, a former lieutenant general, is in the United States Army. He fought in the Vietnam War. He also fought in the Gulf War. Again, serious guy right here. Also served as an acting national security advisor when Mike Flynn resigned. So here is Keith Kellogg on his interview with Fox saying maybe 100 days we can have the conditions for a deal. So let me get this straight. It went from 24 hours to 2,400 hours for there to be conditions to maybe start conversation. Here, let me show you this clip of Keith Kellogg. Let's play it.
What we're going to do, we'll set the conditions for the president, and then he'll eventually get to a position where he'll be talking to President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, you know, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level. I would say let's set it at 100 days and move our way back and figure a way we can do this in the near term to make sure that this solution is solid, it's sustainable, and that this war ends and so that we stop the carnage. And I think that's going to be very, very important to do. It's going to be important for our national security. It's a part of our vital national interest, and it's also good for Europe as well, and the globe as well.
All right, General.
Now let me show you National Security Advisor, or soon to be National Security Advisor to Trump, Mike Waltz. Here he also says, you know, we need to formulate the conditions and we'll be able to figure this all out, and, you know, uses a bunch of word salad. In other words, they are nowhere near any type of deal in Ukraine. Here, watch this.
Like Trump, of course, had said that he could have the...
Is acknowledging that reality.
But now I want to show you the tactic that they both use as well. Remember what I've been saying, WMD, weapon of mass distraction. Here's the fake. Because it's an obvious lie, a lie that Donald Trump promised to voters as one of the reasons they should vote for him, right? You know what we call that in common English? We call that fraud. We call it fraud. But now here's their maneuver. And here's what they're depending on us to do. That we're going to be distracted by, Donald Trump's going to invade Greenland and Canada and Panama. We should take that seriously. We should take it seriously. But we should also not focus so much on the fact, or we should not get distracted from the fact about Trump's lies. So let me show you what then they do, just so you see the scheme here. This is what Trump's future NSA, head of NSA, Mike Waltz, does. Well, I think Greenland puts us in an interesting position if we take over Greenland, and we'll have to see. They may want to be independent. Here, watch this.
Out of the box, he's trying to engage, and he's putting the United States in a position of global leadership. So when you look at it historically, there's a lot of things he is saying is very, very accurate historically, and it makes a lot of sense internationally what it looks like for the future. You know, when it comes to Panama, I was an assault brigade commander during Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. We actually did take the Panama Canal back in the late 80s during Operation Just Cause, and 3 weeks later we gave it back to them. So we've taken it before. It's happened before. And I think his point about the Chinese running the canal is a good point, because over 70% of the commerce that goes through the Panama Canal is in, and we'll have more after the 20th of January when he's officially the president, not president-elect.
Interesting thing for the special envoy whose job is to speak on behalf of the administration regarding a discrete area, that area here being Ukraine and Russia's unlawful invasion. And you hear what Kellogg said. He goes, I don't speak for Trump. Trump speaks for himself. I was just hearing that also. I want you to watch some of the rifts that I think will develop early between Kellogg and Trump. Because what we've seen before are people who are like Kellogg, who don't make it very long in Trump administrations when Trump pulls crap like this. Because what Trump will do is he'll undermine the negotiations by Kellogg. Kellogg knows you're not in a position of power if you brag about Vladimir Putin inviting you to meet and you go there with your hands out begging Vladimir Putin for a deal. That doesn't put you in a strong negotiating posture. It doesn't put you in a strong negotiation posture. In fact, as I teach my law students and my undergrad students, when I teach negotiation, the worst thing you can do as a negotiator is impose arbitrary timelines and deadlines on yourself in a negotiation and allow your adversary to know that, because you give up a major part of the negotiation power, which is time and your utilization of time. But that's precisely what Donald Trump does over and over again. And I'll leave you with this clip right here. This was a man at a Trump rally. He's asked by one of these right-wing propaganda networks if he believes Donald Trump will end the war in Ukraine.
The risk of catastrophic wildfire outbreak, ill prepared to combat it because of their focus on pushing liberal ideological policies. The far-left policies of Democrats in California are literally burning us to the ground. Stop voting for people who won't use common sense or water management and forest policies. I am pissed off. You should too. Richard General Trump incoming envoy for special mission posted on X last week. Musk retweeted the message, which has become a rallying cry for support from many nation Republicans, especially Trump's most aggressive MAGA allies, many of whom have attacked Newsom and Pace over the land and water management issues after, or some cases, fabricating demanding details of a mixture of scientific predictive process. Newsom and Pace are both apparently urged by criticism and keen to push back, but also realize that in a little more than a week, they will rely on President-elect